We are all guilty of neglecting our appearance from time to time. Life can be too busy to always have expertly shaped eyebrows or hair that's gelled to perfection. But when Roger decided that it was time to address his unruly locks, both he and his fiancée couldn't believe how different he looked without them. Back in 2014, one father from the US named Roger was invited onto a famous TV show. And his appearance caused a bit of a storm online, but that was no real surprise. After all, he was there to do something pretty drastic. Roger was brought on to the Rachel Ray Show, a talk show with various different segments. Except Roger wasn't there to show off his culinary skills or perform a song for the audience. There was another reason for his presence. He was there for a makeover. Roger had only recently asked the mom of his kids, Fleur, to marry him. So the two of them sat in the studio audience, ready to see what the makeover team could do. And more than 1 million people were watching at home to find out, too. Roger had a huge ginger beard and long shaggy locks that he hadn't cut in more than 2 decades. But his wife-to-be had never actually seen him without all that hair in the whole 13 years that they'd been together. So he decided that it was time to shake things up. When the host Ray asked Roger why he had originally decided to let his hair grow out, his answer was hilarious. He said that he first shaved his head straight after he left high school. And then after that, life happened, which stopped him thinking about cutting his hair. He added that he had been spending time with his kids rather than focusing on grooming himself. But now that Roger was on the show, his fiancée was looking forward to seeing what he'd look like without so much shaggy hair. "I'm excited to see how he's going to look clean-shaven with less hair," she told Ray. Not only that, but the man who would be in charge of the makeover, Kyan Douglas, was also intrigued to see what he could do with Roger's look. Referring to Roger's heavy head of hair, Douglas said that he was curious to see what happens when that weight comes off. He also complimented Roger on his great hair and great eyes, before whisking him off to begin the transformation. After going through what can only be described as a dramatic transformation, Roger eventually returned to Ray's stage. And the audience couldn't hide their excitement. He looked like a totally new man. And most importantly, his fiancée looked pretty impressed, but no one was more vocal about it than Ray. She covered her mouth with her hand, looking around in total disbelief. The audience continued to applaud enthusiastically, while Ray gathered herself together enough to speak. "You are smoking hot," she exclaimed at Roger, who smiled back modestly. "Fleur, are you happy? Are those happy tears?" the host asked Roger's fiancée. She was sitting in the audience looking a little overwhelmed by the whole situation. "I'm definitely happy," she replied. Just shocked. But by this point, Roger hadn't even been allowed to see himself yet. So Ray told him to turn around, in order that he could get a good look at his brand new style via one of the studio cameras. When Roger finally saw what the team of makeover artists had done to him, he looked amazed. It seemed as if he didn't quite recognize himself. In fact, his long locks were gone, and he had a short floppy hairstyle with a smartly trimmed beard instead. Not only that, but his whole outfit was also different. Gone were both his striped sweatshirt and khaki trousers. The new Roger was wearing a far smarter outfit instead, consisting of a pair of fitted jeans and a blue shirt, topped with a hoodie underneath a stylish blazer jacket. A lot of people online simply couldn't get over how good Roger looked following the makeover. Way better. "Now he does look handsome and about 10 years younger," commented a YouTube user underneath the clip of Roger's Rachel Ray Show appearance. But there was something else in particular that a bunch of people picked up on. Underneath the big shaggy beard was a pronounced set of cheek dimples. They'd been hidden for years, but after the makeover the dimples were clearly visible again, and people seemed to love them. "Look at those cute dimples. A shame to keep them hidden so long," someone wrote beneath a Daily Mail article about Roger's televised transformation. And they weren't the only person to feel that way. Plenty of people mentioned his dimples on the YouTube clip, too, while most viewers thought that Roger looked much better than he had before the transformation. Some were quite cruel about the makeover. "He looks older, emasculated and has lost his identity," read one of the harsher comments. But all that really mattered was what Roger and Fleur thought. And it was pretty clear that they loved the makeover. Although Roger admitted that there was one downside to having shorter hair. "It's cooler outside," he joked.